So this is part A of the world exclusive diagnosis of Fleet Street, the Kudilar television channel being broadcast on the theme of Baby Angel Geronimo, incorporating our regular diagnosis of the corrupt Fleet Street and the corrupt parliament and the corrupt regime fronted by the corrupt congenital liar Boris Johnson. And nothing, absolutely nothing in the Fleet Street papers even remotely represents the truth of what is going on in this country. And the depth of darkness that it is sinking with the collusion and complicity of the corrupt Fleet Street, the British mainstream media, the newspapers, the television, the radio networks and outlets, and most of the social media so-called platforms. So it's the darkness, it's the evil. It's the evil darkness personified by this congenital liar. In order to get that image, we had to pay £3.50 for this cover so that we could show it. £3.50 for the New European. And as we said, New European may be published separately from so-called Fleet Street, but the majority of the opinions, the scripted phrases and the narrative are similar to the ordinarily identified outlets called Fleet Street. Because most of these people are part of the same media outlets, including the likes of Bonnie Greer. Bonnie Greer is a crafty import from the USA. She appears black and factually can refer to her upbringing in around Chicago. But ideologically, Bonnie Greer is a crafty, opportunist self-seeker. She is not like the terrible P-lips. She is craftier than the P-lips, but she is not genuinely opposing racism. And this New European is essentially Europe-centric cultural platform. Well, this is the picture, but this picture doesn't have to be there for me to call it Europe-centric. The narrative is imperialistic and it is corrupt and it's in denial. Having said that, this New European has got a different kind of line. And the difference is only identifiable in the fact that it is in support of the UK remaining a member of the European Union. Apart from that, it is not different. And the piece on this front page is byline to a man, Matt Kelly, who is a central element involved in the perpetration of the racist narrative, imperialistic narrative that the new European perpetuates. And they're all there. Alistair Campbell, Peter Kellner, and of course Matt Kelly and Nigel Warburton. That picture on the front page of the New European is a montage photograph based on Boris Johnson's corrupt spiel at the Conservative Scum conference yesterday. And the fact that the Fleet Street outlets are complicit with the racist, imperialistic, corrupt narrative of the cabal fronted by the congenital liar Boris Johnson is evident in the kind of timid heading there by the I newspaper. And the same applies to the Guardian. Although it is pretending to be critical of the lies of Boris Johnson, the latest set of lies of Boris Johnson, it is timid because it is hiding under the business kind of spokesperson who are allegedly angry at Johnson's vacuous and bombastic speech. And this is the copy is byline to two women. One is Heather Stewart and the other is Julia Culloway. Now, Culloway is a new name as far as I can see, but Heather Stewart has been around for a while at The Guardian. Heather Stewart is a racist and a bourgeois, racist, self-seeking opportunist. And on the page 3 of The Guardian today, they have a piece about the High Court ruling that actually let off the protesters against HS2. And the front page piece about Dubai is also about a High Court kind of ruling, the family division. And this is byline to apparently a Muslim named kind of name on The Guardian. And for the first time, we are noticing that he is described as legal affairs correspondent. We don't believe that he is going to tell the truth about the law. And the truth about the law is that the law is corrupt and the judiciary is corrupt. And they've got a few pages on the Conservative conference. And The Guardian, as I have said, is racist, corrupt, and timid. And So there is a piece by Dan Sabag. Now, Dan Sabag is a former Labour councillor in Lambeth, and he has connections with Una King, for whom he served as a short-time kind of consultant, advisor. And now he's described as defense and security editor at The Guardian. And the piece under his, or piece above his photograph and the copy is Telltale Signs, How Web of Spying Was Exposed at Heart of the UK Now. When any outlet, news outlet in Fleet Street actually drop their timidity and their complicit role, even for a piece like this one, because this is exactly the ideal piece that The Guardian can show that it is not intimidated in running. Why? Because The Guardian is a racist, anti-Muslim piece. Now the crooks in the whole of the Gulf areas, the crooks, I call them crooks, have been there, and they have been the source of billions and billions and billions of pounds of theft and bribe money that they have paid to the British agencies, British institutions, British government, etc. But this one is a very kind of typical piece. Why? Because it has got Tony Belayar's wife, Sharif Belayar, who is part of the Pegasus kind of conspiracy, abuse and spying. And she is doing business, she has been doing business with the Israeli kind of entrepreneurs and operations. But here in this story, Sharif Belayar is supposedly a source that alerted the estranged wife of the Dubai sheikh. So therefore, this is there is like a shoulder, like a support structure. Although Sharif Belayar has been colluding with the corruption and lying and racism and imperialism of the crook Belayar, the fact that she is a kind of British licensed law trader and married to the criminal Tony Belayar gives them a perverse kind of sense of protection and identity. The Guardian, that is, and Dan Sabag as well. So they can pretend to be not intimidated by the Dubai Sheikh, which is absolutely based on a series of falsehoods on the part of the, or falsehoods on the part of the Guardian. Having said all of that, this Dubai Sheikh, is notorious for kidnapping and hijacking and colluding against members of his own family, his daughters. So these are the three pictures that The Guardian is running on pages 12 and 13. We'll leave aside Sharif Belayar's insert photo. So here is this man called Sir Andrew McFarlane, president of the family court, confirmed the use of NSO phone hacking software in the case. And Princess Haya in this group picture, shown on the right of the group picture on page 13. So Princess Haya, right, has been represented by Fiona Shackleton in red. Fiona Shackleton stands behind Princess Haya. In the child protection case, both had their UK phones hacked. That is Fiona Shackleton got alerted by Sherry Blair. So see the connections. These are people who are, let's say, platformed and given platforms of space at the physically and in terms of the access to the devices of the judiciary, which is absolutely corrupt. But they are at the top of the range, if you like, of careerists. So Fiona Shackleton is very much an English racist license law trader. And she only took on the case for Princess Haya simply on the basis of the dosh. And she would not be representing ordinary victims of ordinary injustice and corruption and crimes if the criminals and the perpetrators were British. And the targets of the violations, even though, quote, British, were not able to afford her fees. Now, this is the kind of platform, the area that David Neuberger, at the time, the president of the Supreme Court, was about to retire, was saying in July 2017 that one of the positive benefits, as he was saying it, of having Brexit would be to turn London into the center of the world's litigation. What Neuberger meant was not the center of litigation by ordinary victims of injustice in other jurisdictions, in other countries and other territories, but huge multi-billion pound kind of benefit that would be available to the likes of Fiona Shackleton. Of course, Neuberger didn't name Shackleton because he was speaking in July 2017, and Shackleton is in the news only in the 2021 period concerning the case of the Dubai Sheikhs, one of the daughters of Dubai Sheikh and one of his wives. And the piece by Dan Sabag, of course, doesn't say what I have been saying. Dan Sabag says something completely different. He would never dream of speaking about Neuberger. So what Sabak says is what I read on this broadcast, although it's available online as well, I think. So he says 11 court judgments covering 181 pages, plus hundreds of other pages of legal documents, have revealed an extraordinary spying scandal, state-sponsored mobile phone hacking, conducted on behalf of the ruler of Dubai against his fearful former wife, Princess Haya. It's not the daughter versus wife. Princess Haya is his wife, so I correct that error. But he has done things against his daughters as well, which we should discuss in due course with updates. Britain's most famous divorce lawyer and her associate, plus 3 others, against the backdrop of a bitter child protection battle being played out day after day in the English courts. Now notice this phrase, day after day. This is not a case about people in Britain, in Little England or England, or is the so-called UK, suffering injustice, violence, persecution, denial, and being supremely entitled to access to judicial remedies. None of that is being played out in the courts. So Neuberger was lying when he was peddling Brexit by misrepresenting the role of the English course. It is English course because he was talking about London. Neuberger was talking about London. Now, what we are doing here in this edition is what we have been doing exclusively. This is not something that you can find in the Guardian or in the rest of the Fleet Street papers or the broadcasting counterparts like the BBC, Sky News, ITV, Channel 4 News, or Channel 5, or any of the internet outlets called social media. We are combining the collected evidence contained in the papers. For example, today, Thursday, the 7th of October 2021, the Guardian is putting forward the image that the Guardian is doing something original by way of original journalism reporting. So what I have just put on the Twitter post with the picture of this page, 2-page spread. So Dubai Sheikh as an example of David Neuberger's lucrative benefit of Brexit. Now, of course, Neuberger was lying. The fact that he was lying while he was incumbent as the Supreme Court's president made no difference to the actual role that he was playing. He was lying, and he was lying at the behest of and in collusion with David Lidington. Now, David Lidington at that time was incumbent in the post of so-called Justice Secretary. There is a cabinet minister in the cabal fronted by Theresa May. The cabinet minister, who is also, the post is also called Lord Chancellor. And apparently Lidington was, or he peddled the line that he had actually preferred the UK remaining in the European Union. Despite that fact, and despite similar fact about asserted for Theresa May that she too had voted to remain, or voted for the UK to remain in the European Union. This fact applying to both Theresa May and David Lidington did not deter or prevent or stop either from becoming absolutely fanatic supporters of the process for implementing Brexit. Think about that. And it was that fanaticism shown by Theresa May's role as incumbent in the post of, quote, Prime Minister that entailed the likes of David Lidington prompting or, quote, persuading within quotation marks David Neuberger to spew the set of lies about Brexit, bringing legal benefits to London. This was not a benefit to the society in London. This was not a benefit to the society in this country. This was a benefit directly to licensed law traders and the licensed law trading bureaucracy, also known as the English judiciary. Now, there are pages and pages of coverage about the Conservative Conference yesterday, because it was it featured the congenital liar Boris Johnson making the spiel. But also there are coverages about the Dubai Sheikh, 2 pages, and on page 16, pages 16 and 17, there are 2 items. One is Farrar and Company, lawyers to Queen, advised politician now accused by US prosecutors. This is the politician who is the Nigerian Abu Bakr Bagudu, a politician who accepted in a Nigerian court in 1999 that he had received funds from the former dictator Sani Abacha. And there is the picture of Sani Abacha in military uniform. And it says, the caption says in The Guardian, the Nigerian dictator Sani Abacha's death in 1998 triggered a hunt for his money. And there is a picture of the building, let's say, that houses the London offices of Farrar and Company, the Queen's law firm for generations. And here is the part picture of Jonathan Aitken. Now, Jonathan Aitken was imprisoned in the 1990s, connected with the reporting in the early 1990s by The Guardian. And that reporting included one aspect of the testimony given by Jonathan Aitken denying some facts. And the denial of the facts concerned was highlighted in the court case involving The Guardian as well as the others. And that was the one single act that actually triggered the downfall of Jonathan Aitken, and he was jailed. And here is the separate piece on page 17, which is added. Aitken secretly paid £166 for book on Kazakh autocrat. Because that is based on a leak, and that The Guardian is saying leak casts doubt on claim by former conservative minister, which is Jonathan Aitken, that he received no fee from Nur Sultan Nazarbayev government for flattering biography, because Aitken was paid by Nazarbayev £166,000 for a book praising him. So what all of this actually reveals and confirms is that David Neuberger, although president of the Supreme Court, was lying, because he was giving the impression in that spiel that was reported, as far as we know, at the time by the London Evening Standard. And we have been referring to that for the last 4 years. For the last 4 years plus 2 months, I think, since Neuberger made that spiel. And that shows that Neuberger was giving the impression that Brexit would benefit ordinary people in Britain. Because Aitken apart, I mean, this is what Neuberger said. So, dated the 4th of July 2017, the London Evening Standard had the headline, Brexit could boost London's status as world's legal centre, Britain's top judge says. And it's a piece bylined by Martin Bentham and dated 4th of July 2017. And the first paragraph, the country's most senior judge, listen to the style and the kind of build-up. The country's most senior judge has declared, it's like a declaration by a big, powerful source, an authority. The country's most senior judge has declared that Brexit could boost London's status as the world's legal centre. It's not just the ordinary legal centre, the world's legal centre. Notice that lie. By allowing, that is, Brexit was the source of all powerful things, by allowing the courts to respond more swiftly to emerging worldwide issues. That's a complete, utter, totally criminally, negligently, and dishonestly confected lies. Now, the second paragraph says, Lord Neuberger, Lord we use within quotation marks, any utterance of the term Lord on this program at any time should be deemed and treated as being done within quotation marks. So Neuberger, the president of the Supreme Court, said that once British judges were left to our own common law devices, they would be able to react more quickly and freely to developments in the fast-changing world. Now, Neuberger is a complete and utter liar. What he was saying there was that Brexit was releasing the British judges from the control of the European Union. The European Union never controlled the British judges or the courts. Never did. And the fact that he uses the phrase common law takes us back to the lies that three judges perpetrated against baby angel Geronimo. Murray, Griffiths, and Stacy. All of them defied common sense and common law. And they surrendered common law in order to serve as rubber stamps for the depraved DEFRA in perpetrating the criminally conceived and confected falsehoods against baby angel Geronimo. These were against common law. And Neuberger, in that piece, was actually being used as a peddler of party politics. And Martin Bentham, himself a crook and a liar and a racist, and a supporter of the scum, wrote this on the Evening Standard, being a conservative scum supporter, claimed that the 1999 Access to Justice Act, which was enacted 2 years into the Labour Party's government, began in May 1997. Bentham is saying there that Neuberger said that the problem in the courts and about the courts was caused by he's described by Bentham as the Labour's legislation, Access to Justice Act 1999. That is absolute lie, untruth. So far we have seen that the only substantial kind of number of litigation conducted through the London courts have involved Nigerian criminals and British criminals like the Jonathan Aitken, who did a criminal job for the Kazakh autocrat. And of course, the most recent one is the Dubai one. So these are not about rights of the ordinary British people. And the decision by a court in the case that was brought against the protesters against HS2 is a rare one. In any case, it is not a case that actually reflects ordinary lives, ordinary people. By ordinary, I mean the likes of Helen MacDonald, baby angel Geronimo's mom. She's his second mom. His first mom is in New Zealand, Leonie Walker, who bred him and who misses him. Now, whenever Helen MacDonald attempted the courts, the legal bureaucracy, to tell the truth, uphold the truth, and compel the depraved Defra to tell the truth and confess that they have been lying against baby angel Geronimo. On each occasion, the court behaved as an extension of the illegality, the extension of the wrongdoing, an extension of the evil agenda that has been being pursued against baby angel Geronimo by the depraved Defra and the regime that Defra is part of, which is the congenital liar Boris Johnson. So David Neuberger was lying, and he still remains on the record as the liar who did not recognize the rights of the people like Helen MacDonald and the wrongdoing propensities that would be openly, brazenly abused by the likes of Murray, likes of Griffiths, and likes of Stacey against people like Helen MacDonald, seeking justice, seeking the truth, seeking the evidence, seeking the disclosure of the facts of the behavior, the disclosure of the true facts, or the truth about the facts of the behavior of the depraved Defra. In no part of the evening, No Standard piece dated the 4th of July 2017, byline to Martin Bentham, is there even as token reference to the people like Helen MacDonald or other people in Britain. So you multiply the injustice, the lying done by depraved Defra against baby angel Geronimo, and apply to the behavior, their decisions, the lying decisions by each of the local council, local authority, each unit of the Defra, depraved Defra, against the owners of various animals across Little England, across the UK. And you come across thousands and thousands of incidents of lying, of wrongdoing, of criminality, intentional criminality conceived by the decision makers of local states, state agencies, and you find that David Neuberger did not recognize any of those being in existence, any of those being entitled to remedies. And in that piece, David Neuberger actually contradicted himself, as reported by Martin Bentham in the Evening No Standard. This contradiction is typified in this paragraph. He says, Neuberger's comments came during a speech in London in which he also warned that British society could start to fragment and lose the rule of law unless action was taken to improve access to justice. Now, what did he mean? Well, the next paragraph by Martin Bentham reads, singling out Labour's 1999 Access to Justice Act as the root of the problem, Neuberger said, we have a serious problem with access to justice for ordinary citizens and small and medium-sized businesses. If it does not exist, society will eventually start to fragment. Of course, it doesn't exist, and society doesn't exist either. And the rest of his spiel is complete, utter, absolute lies. Because despite the fact that Neuberger included the phrase ordinary people, ordinary citizens, the behavior of Murray, Griffiths, and Stacy against the baby angel Geronimo, the behavior shows that Neuberger was in denial, as has each of these so-called judges been in denial of the rights of the ordinary citizens. Because every single communication, that is the fact, every single factual communication about every single decision made by the depraved Defra against the baby angel Geronimo, the truthful contents of every single decision shows that they were made dishonestly with an agenda to defame and to tell lies against the baby angel Geronimo. And whatever Martin Bentham says to be the root of the problem, being in the Access to Justice Act enacted by Labour in 1999, the truth of the behavior of judges and the judiciary and the license law traders is that they don't care about the justice, which is what has happened. Because if the license law traders and this sitting in the judges' kind of chairs, if you like, Murray and Griffiths and Stacey, if they cared about justice, if they recognized justice, then they would never have behaved as rubber stamps for injustice, conceived and conspired against baby angel Geronimo for years. So we add to this narrative the full contradictory statement and speech attributed to David Neuberger, who was spieling at the time that the report was published in the Evening Non-Standard Standard, in his capacity as the top judge, also known as the president of the Supreme Court. We've got these are the papers, Fleet Street papers today, including the European. So let's look at the front pages of these ones. This is the I newspaper, so-called. And this is not a Fleet Street paper, but it's in the neighborhood, the New European. I think it's a weekly. And this is the Guardian. And this is the bribing Boris Johnson Daily Graph. So, what is happening with the statement that David Neuberger made? We'll be continuing by updating that in the context of our diagnosis by using the piece by Dan Sabag in The Guardian today, Thursday, the 7th of October 2021. Now, Dan Sabag is, of course, talking about this one. This piece of Princess Haya, one of the ex-wives of the Dubai Sheikh, and to the right on the screen, to her left, that is Fiona Shackleton. Now, Fiona Shackleton is a very highly promoted, that is, she has got a big propaganda kind of machine working. So this broadcast is technically not accessible in parts because of technical reasons, but it's continuing in one piece. What I was saying earlier, before the latest interruption, technical interruption, was that the piece in The Guardian today, byline to Dan Sabag, is about the ruler of Dubai. And let's see where is it located. This one is, so this is a piece about the ruler of Dubai in The Guardian, and it's in the Guardian on pages 12 and 13. So there is one piece continuing from the piece on page 1, and it's heading here on the continuation. Dubai Sheikh's agents use spyware to hack phone of former wife, according to the ruling by a judge. And the second piece is by Dan Sabak, who is described as defense and security editor. Now, that is nothing to do with the legal bureaucracy, defense and security. And Sabak's piece if we read this up to the end of the page 13, Sabak says the judge summed up the issue. It's often said that most important thing that a house burglar steals is the peace of mind of the householder. The same must surely be true of phone hacking. And it's it seems that Princess Haya is the daughter of the late King of Jordan. And these people are kind of owners of some of the most expensive properties in the UK. I mean, she's herself a princess in her own right, and she was left property in Windsor by her father, the late King of Jordan. That is King Hussein of Jordan. And so she can actually afford the services of the likes of Fiona Shackleton. So there is this double image of the world. The world that David Neuberger, the president of the Supreme Court in July 2017, painted. He was not talking about ordinary people in the world in terms of money, in terms of wealth. And he was not talking about the ordinary rights of the ordinary people in this country, or ordinary targets of abuse, violations, and violence, and defamation and lies, such as baby angel Geronimo. And Dan Sabag doesn't, in his piece in The Guardian today, he doesn't actually refer to David Neuberger. He doesn't talk about that at all whatsoever. And the impact on the baby angel Geronimo of the absence, even in The Guardian, of any reference to or recognition of justice as denied to baby angel Geronimo, as has been denied to baby angel Geronimo and his mom Helen for more than 4 years, is not recognized either. And that's where the majority of the impact, if you like, should be located when it comes to the role of the judges, the role of the courts, the role of the legal so-called system, and the role of the licensed law traders. The Guardian hasn't got anything comparable to the space that it has given to the Dubai sheikhs, or the claims against Dubai sheikh brought by his former wife, Princess Haya. Now, here is this piece by Dan Sabag, of course, is focused on Princess Haya. And the reason why it is focused on Princess Haya is significantly to do with the fact that her lawyer is this high profile Fiona Shackleton. So all the contents of the kind of evidence put before the court and commented on by the court especially this one that Dan Sabak is featuring, Andrew McFarlane, president of the family court. These are all obtained at significant cost by the client concerned, this case Princess Haya and her lawyer, quote, Baroness Shackleton, which would not be covered by the misleading statement made by David Neuberger, as reported by Martin Bentham, saying that ordinary people needed to be able to access the courts, which they were not being able to. And if they were not able to access the courts, there would be society would fragment, society would break up. None of the reported issues and illegalities and spying by the Dubai Sheikh and his agents against his ex-wife, Princess Haya, and her lawyer, Fiora Shackleton. These are not applicable to the ordinary lives and ordinary kind of denials and deprivations of rights to individual ordinary people by the local state, such as the local council, or by the agency of a state or a department of the state, like the depraved DEFRA has been doing against the baby angel Geronimo. Now, moving to the two current kind of issues or current topics about the behavior of the police in relation to the murders of women. One is Sarah Everard and in March, and the other is Sabina Nessa last month in September. Despite the fact that the Daily Mail, because the Daily Mail is the one that gives comparatively more space, column inches, to the issue of the behavior of the London Metropolitan Police than any of the other Fleet Street papers. So despite the fact that the Daily Mail has been giving critical space, criticizing the behavior of the London Metropolitan Police, there is no consistency in the Daily Mail's role in really investigating the behavior of the police in relation to ordinary people, ordinary citizens, ordinary members of the public that are concerned with issues which are less serious than the actual murders, the kidnap, and the rape. That is to say, the Daily Mail is not interested in seeing accountability by the police generally, or the Daily Mail is not interested in campaigning for necessary accountability by the police, which doesn't exist. And the Daily Mail is not commenting about any aspect of what the demand for scrapping the police as we know it entails. For example, the headline demand by Peter Hitchens in the Sunday Mail on Sunday, although it was inadequate, insufficient, and incomplete in terms of detail, the headline is important as a reminder of the need to scrap the police as a whole. So we are talking about criminal law, and there is nothing in the Fleet Street papers that actually reports daily or even weekly on the inadequacies of the criminal law and the complicity and the collusion with the inadequacy and the failures of the criminal law, that is to do with the police, to do their duty or even to care to do their duty, to safeguard potential targets, which is significantly women and young persons, young girls. Not exclusively, but significantly. Now, there is the unusual headline in the Times. It's a piece by a man who writes or has a regular platform in the Times called Ian Martin. And his heading actually goes back to the beginning of Boris Johnson's career of congenitally lying. So this headline is in the Times, which is not an opponent of Boris Johnson or of the Conservatives. So therefore it is just as a reference, very important. It reads, Boris the Clown is wrong act for tough times. And the Peter Brooks column, the cartoon, that is, not the column. The column is by Ian Martin, and on top of that, above that, is the cartoon by Peter Brooks. And it shows universal credit card, please give generously. There is a man sitting in front of at the front door. And Johnson is saying, here is some profound economic change. And he puts 2 coins there. And the 2 pieces, that cartoon and the piece by Ian Martin underneath, actually tell the same story. That is the latest kind of update, an amplification of what Dominic Cummings had said, that Johnson is unfit for purpose, and Johnson is dishonest, and Johnson is a liar, and Johnson is a puppet who is played by Kerry Simmons, who is now renamed Kerry Johnson. And So the last two paragraphs in Ian Martin's column read as follows. The first paragraph, the penultimate paragraph, that is, the reason the Tory leadership can be so jolly, in public at least, is that the focus groups in which they place quasi-religious faith suggest their voters do not blame them for any of the problems, yet. There was a pandemic and Boris Johnson is doing his best, is the general tenor of the view among Tory voters. So keep whistling and keep smiling. The last paragraph is, there should be much more to national leadership than that. How about preparing people honestly for what is coming? The question ultimately is about a lack of moral seriousness, I suppose, which should produce a hollow laugh from Boris Johnson. Yet again, as so often in his life, he is gambling on getting away with it. Well, he has got away with it so far. And the reason why he has so far got away with all the wrongs and all the lies and all the criminality that he has confected is because the legal bureaucracy, which rubber stamped the confected lies against baby angel Geronimo, lies that Johnson has been endorsing. The legal bureaucracy has personified and represented, epitomized, typified by Murray and Griffiths and Stacey. That legal bureaucracy collectively is criminally complicit in denial of its own duties as owed to the target of the lies by depraved DEFRA, the target that is baby angel Geronimo. Because Johnson should never have been allowed to utter any endorsement condoning words or allow any such words to be issued in his name, as it has been the case so far every time, in support of the DEFRA lying agenda and narrative against baby angel Geronimo. And Johnson has not been held to account. The only way Johnson can be exposed as a liar and a criminally negligent, uncaring liar is if there exists an actual independent, objective, due process upholding, rule of law upholding, practicing court of law that is separate from the executive, that does its job independently of the executive. But there is no such thing. Therefore, it is dark age, darkness, evil land, Johnson fronted evil regime. Now, this is a piece in the Times. This is a new name that I have come across as a name on the comment section of the Times. He is James Marriott. And its headline is "It's Only Human to Think of Others as Scum." And that is followed by the kind of column by Jenny Starner immediately below that piece. And Jenny Starner has a comment about petrol pump behavior, a petrol pump etiquette. And she's saying, and I quote, "I've noticed this in ladies' loo queues. Once someone gets their turn, they relish making others wait." So it's a selfish kind of behavior. Both Jenny Starner and James Marriott are saying exists. And it's the same as Boris Johnson tossing 2 coins at the man who's seeking generosity after his universal credit cards came into play. And the piece in the Financial Times on page 6 is about the ruler of Dubai. Ruler of Dubai misused Israeli spyware to hack ex-wife's phone. Now, this is the Financial Times take on the role of the London courts in the vocabulary of David Neuberger, as I have been updating. And it says, ruler of Dubai misused Israeli spyware to hack ex-wife's phone. Sheikh sanctioned use of military tool in legal battle over children, court finds. Now, this is again a completely different kind of scenario than the one that David Neuberger included in his role as a stooge for the Brexiteering regime fronted by Theresa May, and who handled Neuberger by David Lidington. These are expensive legal kind of disputes. Expensive beyond the wildest kind of dreams of the majority, individuals in the majority and the many in this country. So extrapolate this difference, and you can see that the judiciary is corrupt to the core, because the judiciary is represented by the likes of Murray, Griffiths, and Stacey, who are stooges for the government. And to stop them behaving as stooges for the corrupt regime, there would be the need for high octane money available to be paid to licensed law traders, who can then be ordered to pursue claims against the depraved DEFRA until the depraved DEFRA is forced to be exposed as having misused its powers. Ruler of Dubai misused Israeli software, spyware, to hack ex-wife's phone could have been replaced by the DEFRA, and the Boris Johnson regime has misused government power to attack the rights of the most innocent baby angel Geronimo and his owner, Helen McDonald. Helen McDonald doesn't have that kind of money. It's in the billions. The people who are in the disputes can access millions and millions and millions of pounds, which Helen McDonald cannot. And if it is only available to people with such huge amounts of money, then it is not in existence. The legal system, the court system, does not exist, which is what has been happening with the baby angel Geronimo, because all three criminals abusing their positions as sitting judges have abused their own positions to deny baby angel Geronimo the civil and criminal justice that baby angel Geronimo has been entitled to, is entitled to. And there is no. So when the speech was made by David Neuberger, assuring the audience or public that Brexit would bring this kind of benefit, he was lying, because he was in denial of the physical impossibility of litigants from ordinary population, ordinary demography in this country. The ordinary people seeking justice through the London courts, as he located the courts, simply cannot access justice, access remedies, let's say. So that's number one. Number two is the license law traders getting the licenses from the Law Society called of England and Wales and the four Inns of Court. There is nothing in the licenses. There is nothing in the licenses either by the Inns of Court or of the Law Society or of the Institute of Legal Executives that imposes a requirement on the license holders to tell the truth. Not really. It has got weasel words saying that this and other are the codes of conduct, etc. But there is no enforcement. There is no enforcement of any universally recognized duties that can be applied to the behavior of the licensed law traders, either barristers or solicitors or soul cheaters. A very large number of licensed law trading solicitors are soul cheaters, liars. And the lying is part of the license, because any attempt to seek remedies and seek accountability, let alone damages, which is absolutely impossible and beyond the dreams, any attempt by any target or any victim of lying by the licensed law trader or traders, any attempt is, guaranteed to be frustrated by the series and serial denials in place operated by the crooks in charge of making any adjudication against any of the licensed law traders. So, the Bar Council is not a part of the INSOP Court but separately constituted by members of the licensed law trading bars. So it's a secondary kind of place. The initial place is the individual bar, the Lincoln's Inn, Gray's Inn, Middle Temple, Inner Temple. These are the four inns of court that issue the license for the barrister or the trader to trade as a barrister. And their combined, their collective counterpart is, of course, the Law Society of England and Wales, which has an operating kind of agency called the Solicitors Regulation Authority. The SRA and the Bar Council and the Inns of Court all have codes of conduct, written, printed, published codes of conduct concerning the behavior of their license holders. But when the codes are mentioned as part of the evidence in complaints made to the license issuers, like the license issuers like the Bar Council and the four Inns of Court and the Law Society of England and Wales, unleash habitual and dishonestly conceived ways to block complaints against barristers and solicitors. That is how thousands of these license holders carry on being in trade as lawyers, law traders, while they are corrupt, they are lying, they are obstructing, they are denying, and they are behaving dishonestly and criminally intentionally with the purpose to block and deny and subvert and sabotage the ordinary people's claims at every stage. And as the so-called judges are themselves license holders from the Inns of Court or the Law Society SRA, they are members of the same population, the same kind of constituencies as the licensed law trading barristers are, and the licensed law trading soul cheaters are, and the licensed law trading legal executives are. So it's a de facto, in practice, in effect, in reality, it's a closed kind of area. It's not open, it's not transparent, it's not accountable, it's not practicing according to the codes of conduct universally kind of applicable to the behavior of these licensed law traders. So it's a vicious circle. When you complain to the individual issuers of the licenses, for example, the Bar Council, the Inns of Court, and the Law Society and the Legal Executive, Institute of Legal Executive, they then create an interminable endless kind of delay and obfuscation and obstruction. So that adds to the denials of rights to the complainants, who most of whom are then forced by the necessities of time and resource to abandon their complaints. But if, as some very small number, seek redress from the formally sitting courts themselves, then what they have not been told, but what actually exists, is that there is the secondary layer of obstruction and denial on behalf of the licensed law trading criminals and wrongdoers and their agencies, their issuers, because it's the same people, the so-called judges, as well as the so-called lawyers involved or hired in the cases, an extension of the vicious cycle. The vicious cycle means that you are subjected to an endless cycle of frustrations, away, and farthest away from the original claim or claims. So, when Fiona Shackleton, seen on the right of the image, and her client, Princess Haya, are featured on the front page of the Times as involved in litigation that has ended, at least according to this report, with the judge ruling the Sheikh of the Dubai Sheikh hacked Shackleton's phone. The headline in the Times is not even the original client, who is Princess Haya on the left of the image. So you can see that the Fleet Street is lying even when it is supposedly reporting a rare event of a judge actually ruling against the ruler of Dubai. And the headline in the Times is about the peer, that is the lawyer becomes the subject, not the client. And in the financial crimes, and this piece in the Financial Times on page 6 contains several paragraphs of denial by the ruler of Dubai. And it says the Shackleton, Cherie Blair, and Haya have declined to comment on the Financial Times piece. Now, there is an Indian named person based in Israel, Tel Aviv, who is one of the two byliners in this piece. The Indian named person is Mehul Srivastava. Now, Srivastava is a South Indian name. and the one above him or her is Jane Croft in London. Now, this piece in the Financial Times and the piece on the front page of the Times do not represent the truth about Brexit and the promotion of the judiciary by David Neuberger, as reported by Martin Bentham. And here is the Times admitting that the UK government would not tackle the Dubai Sheikh, despite the evidence of his kidnapping of his two daughters and the spying on his wife, etc. And the Times also has a piece about the fact that Tony Blair's wife, Cherie Blair, is an advisor to the spying device or spyware business in Israel. And there is a lying promotion for Brenda's son, Andrew. This is lying because Andrew lawyers to review giraffe deal. This is a kind of spin. It's not the truth. Because for years, the rape victim, the victim of Andrew's rape, this woman, Virginia Roberts, and her claims have been public. And for years, the Queen's second son has failed to address her allegations. And he's still doing the same thing, while the Times is saying that his lawyers to review giraffe deal. Giraffe meaning Virginia Roberts. And the deal meaning the deal with the Jeffrey Epstein. Apparently, Jeffrey Epstein had a deal with Virginia Roberts. And this has been known. So this is licensed law trading lying. And the dispute between Virginia Roberts and her rapist, Andrew, is being treated as if it's not as serious as it is. Now here is the 2-page spread by the Times about Boris Johnson at the Scum conference at Manchester yesterday. And what the Times is saying is, again, it has got a completely shameless praise by this absolutely evil Quentin Letts. While everyone else, including the Times cartoonist Peter Brooks, is condemning Johnson and exposing Johnson, Quentin Letts thinks that Boris Johnson is on to a winner again. He says Johnson regained his mojo. That is his magic, his charm. And the way the Times written this headline gives away the Times' own agenda against the target of the organized police trying to date her, because she is the one that was arrested during the Sarah Everard vigil. And she has disclosed that after the vigil, policemen approached her on Tinder. They were all in uniform on the profiles, or it said, "I am a police officer." She told the BBC, "I do not understand why someone would do this or do that. It's almost like an intimidation thing, saying, 'Look, we can see you.' And that to me is terrifying. They know what I went through, and they know that I am fearful of police. And they have done that for a reason." Hundreds of people attended the vigil following the death of Everard. Well, that word death is not appropriate. Following the murder, following the kidnap, the rape, and the murder of Everard. And they put these other bits afterwards. Who was kidnapped, raped, and murdered by the Metropolitan Police, Wayne Couzens. The vigil had been cancelled after the Met ruled that it would be illegal under the lockdown restrictions. However, many people, including the Duchess of Cambridge, turned up throughout the day. Rules state that Metropolitan Police officers must abide by our high standards of professional behavior, both on and off duty. Stevenson from Surrey described the vigil as a turning point, and that the somber atmosphere turned very scary very quickly after police started trying to disperse the crowd. She was fined £200 after and has since launched legal action against the police. She also said that she had become the focus of internet conspiracies and cannot count the amount of death threats she has had. Now there is always the fear that I am out and I see someone staring at me. I'm just I just want to be able to live the way you live without fear. But then again, I'm a woman. Stevenson later responded to queries about how she could be targeted on Tinder. She explained on Twitter, I had Tinder gold so I could see who liked me. I didn't match them. There were 50 at the same time. Tinder also allows users to send profiles of people they like to friends. Theoretically, a police officer could have stumbled upon Stevenson's Tinder profile and sent it to colleagues who could then like it themselves. Stevenson said that she was not anti-police and that she had reported the threats which are being investigated, although not the dating app contacts. The force confirmed that it had received a pre-action letter from Stevenson's lawyers, which was being dealt with by the Metropolitan Police legal team, but would not comment further. Now, this is the evidence of abuse of power by the people, including the police. And let me say it for the latest time, there is no institutional kind of complaint procedure in place for any part of the state, including the police, that can be remotely described as ordinarily accessible or fair or functioning. So even before the details of the criminality and criminally intended falsehood, inventions against Baby Angel Geronimo confected by the UK government via depraved DEFRA were known, there was absolutely no basis for anyone assuming that there was any accountability procedure in place for behavior of a government department or of the police or of the judiciary or of members of parliament or of the council. I'll come to the council and the members of parliament. So this is the first paragraph in the Financial Times, written by Jane Croft and Mehul Srivastava. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, targeted the phone of his estranged wife with a military-grade spyware tool during a London court battle over their two children, a High Court judge has found. The billionaire permitted his servants or agents to use an Israeli-manufactured and commercially sold covert surveillance weapon called Pegasus to target the phones of Princess Haya and Baroness Fiona Shackleton, her divorce lawyer, according to a High Court ruling. Pegasus spyware, the military-grade software licensed by NSO Group of Israel, is supposed to be deployed by sovereign states only to prevent either terrorism or serious crime, said the company, and is sold only with approval of the Israeli government. Pegasus is licensed to the United Arab Emirates. But human rights groups such as Amnesty International have traced the spyware to the smartphones of dozens of journalists, politicians, and rights activists worldwide. This is the first known court ruling on the misuse of Pegasus, though the software is the subject of legal action in the US and in Israel. The High Court ruling is highly embarrassing for Sheikh Mohammed, the Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates. The case is continuing, but has been largely ignored by the media based on the UAE. For 25 years, Mohammed has overseen the development of Dubai into dominant trade, finance, and tourism hub. His Godolphin stable is a force in UK horse racing, and Mohammed was a regular fixture alongside Queen Elizabeth in her box at Royal Ascot. Sir Andrew McFarlane, president of the High Court's Family Division, concluded in a fact-finding ruling, which can now be reported for the first time, that it is more probable than not that the phone hacking was carried out by servants or agents of the father, the Emirate of Dubai, or the UAE, and that the surveillance occurred with the express or implied authority of the father, that is the father of the children under the involved in the court case. Muhammad was the probable originator of the hacking and was prepared to use the arm of the state to achieve what he regarded as right, the judge said. He had harassed and intimidated Haya, a half-sister of Jordan's King Abdullah, even after she fled to England with her 2 children in 2019. The court noted that Muhammad filed no evidence in response to the allegations and did not confirm or deny that the United Arab Emirates has or had any contract with the NSO for the Pegasus system. His legal team also chose to flout various suggestions, including that other states such as Jordan were responsible for the hacking, according to the ruling. The case has been heard in private, but some judgments have now been made public. Mr. McFarlane noted in his ruling that Shackleton, Haya's divorce lawyer, was first tipped off about the phone hacking on August the 5th, 2020 by 2 lawyers, one of whom was Cherie Blair, QC, a barrister and wife of Tony Blair, former Prime Minister. The QC, who advises NSO on human rights issues, had alerted Shackleton, previously divorce lawyer for Prince Charles and Sir Paul McCartney, about the phone hacking after receiving a call from a senior NSO manager. Now, this is proof. The fact that Fiona Shackleton has been a lawyer for Brian, that is Prince Charles, and for Paul McCartney shows that David Neuberger was absolutely wrong. These are not representatives of democracy. These are people, either members of the royal family in the UK, that is Brian, or very wealthy pop musicians like Paul McCartney. There is absolutely no chance in foreseeable future that ordinary members of the public in this country would be able to even dream the amounts that are involved in hiring the likes of Shackleton and paying the costs in addition to her retainer, because there are additional costs. Okay, we are moving to the role of the local councils now. The corrupt local councils and the role of this paper, which is part of the Guardian series. This is nothing to do with the Guardian newspaper itself. It's a different company. This Guardian series is very different from this Guardian. This Guardian is the ordinarily known Daily Guardian. And this is the Guardian series that is really a small local publication that is mainly circulating in the northeast of London and parts of Essex. Now, here is the piece. Well, there are two pieces on the front page of this week's Guardian, local Guardian, that is dated the 7th of October 2021, and it actually highlights the corruption of the local papers and the local councils, because unlike the East London idiotizer, this one is occasionally, not always, not every issue, but occasionally seen as running stories, and I'll come to that significant evidence. This is the one that actually publishes sometimes, not always, sometimes items like this one. Council sorry. No local council is reported as doing anything wrong against the local community. That has become the norm. The local papers don't publish any item, even the shallow news item, which is this one, because it is not an apology to the local community at all by the particular council. In the borough. It is an apology to a man called Pepe Christou, 62, who has run the Brothers Fish Bar for 30 years. It's not to the local community at all, it's to the business person, and it's just a part of the parking space allocation error. Why am I focusing on this one? Because unlike this particular small matter of one parking space allocation, abuse, misuse, the same council, which has now apologized, and I'll come to the distortion involved in that apology as well. The same council has caused more damages to thousands of people in the same, let's say, like the last 18 months of the lockdown. Because this news about the apology has come 18 months into the lockdown period, if you like. Same council has done, that is Waltham Forest, wrongs to thousands of people in Waltham Forest. And there is no sign. There has been no sign in this paper of the council taking any responsibility whatsoever. That is number one. Number two is that this heading about council being sorry is wrong itself. Because it's not an apology by the council itself. It's not an apology issued by the council executive, chief executive, or the council as a whole at a meeting. It's a statement by these individual councillors. This is a councillor called Clyde Lokes, deputy leader of the Waltham Forest Council. And he says, this was a mistake that has since been corrected. I can only apologize for this error and any distress. This is a wrong word actually, because it's not any distress to concern. It should be something else. It may have caused. Following a recent review on Wood Street, all suspensions have been lifted. So he's not sincerely, unreservedly apologizing. He's staging a reluctant apology at the end of the spiel. So there is no organization, institution, or platform or avenue for individuals who have been wronged by the local councils on serious issues, much more serious than the parking space, life-threatening, life-destroying, livelihood-destroying, livelihood-denying wrongs that the councils are doing every single day. There is no remedy for those people seeking any remedies against the local wrongdoing councils. And here is the contrast on the piece there. Contrast in that ordinary people's being denied rights, they say, ordinary people including the baby angel Geronimo, being lied against and targeted for lying, the importance and the significance given by these papers to a single MP who has been hit by a cone is absolutely staggering. Not only the local papers, this one, because this incident happened only yesterday to Ian Dracula Duncan Smith. The local papers have been following the national, if you like, incident where Ian Dirty Duncan Smith has been hit with a cone, and the person or persons who hit him have been arrested. Now, the same case of the Dubai Sheikh is now given the page spread by the Daily Mail as well. And its headline is, or the thematic kind of label to it is, the Dubai Spy Files. And it's a 6-page report. And the main splash on the 2-page spread on the 12 pages 12 and 13 reads, Sherry and the Spy Sheikh. Now, before going into the details about that, let me say again about David Neuberger and his lie. This was the case, the family case. The main case has been heard in private, not transparent at all. And the picture of this princess seen on the left of the page with Fiona Shackleton, she comes across as looking scared, even in that picture. She is looking terrified, and the details on the subheading is, how princess and her British PR divorce lawyer fell victim to dark art hacking operation that tracked their every move and call until Mrs. Blair got explosive tip-off. And it was Cherie Blair who tipped off this lawyer, Fiona Shackleton, as a continuation of the tips. And the girls were scared. Because of the plot by this man to buy property next to her property in Windsor in order to spy on her. And the Mail actually asked the question about Brenda. Why do these people prefer this company? The Mail is Richard Kay is saying, how can the Queen stand by her racing pal after this? Well, the answer is that she will. Because even the Daily Mail is not going to investigate the lies that the UK state is prepared to tell. I mean, the UK state, the foreign office or the foreign ministry is not going to do anything against the criminal attacks and violations that have been perpetrated and are being perpetrated against Princess Haya and her children. So that's what is going to happen. And the other thing is that the economy, as David Neuberger actually boasted about, the economy doesn't matter whether it's as a result of Brexit or as a result of the fact that the UK courts actually tout cases like that. The economy is not going to benefit. It's going to be the licensed law traders and other crooks and criminals, not the ordinary economy, not the economy that actually affects ordinary people's ordinary lives. And the Daily Mail, despite the fact that some of the comments made by Johnson are being noted, they are still standing by Boris Johnson's lies at the Conservative conference. And there are pictures of two male victims of murder, both of them of African descent. And these pictures are only the latest, or among the latest. And the fact that this woman, Patsy Stevenson, has been targeted by 50 police and security guards on the dating app Tinder. She is the face of the vigil for Sarah Everard, who was handcuffed and attacked by the police at the vigil. Now, the fact that this woman has been targeted by as many as 50 police and security guards shows that there is no justice, there is no safety for women in this country. How would they even imagine that they could do that? The answer is that they could do that and they would not be held to account, let alone held to justice. Is why they did that. So against all that evidence and the so-called expression of disgust by the Daily Mail against violence against women. Here is the Daily Mail on page 30 of today, Thursday, the 7th of October 2021, attacking the protesters against HS2 occupation. HS2, they occupied the tunnel near Houston. And the headline is Houston Tunnel Mob. The Daily Mail is calling them mob. Now, if the Daily Mail calls them mob, what chance is there of Fleet Street supporting legitimate campaign for the protection of the environment, protection of the countryside, and the destruction by big business contractors and others? None. So this has been the world exclusive diagnosis of Fleet Street. This is an extended edition because of the technical hitches that caused us to repeatedly try to start the broadcasting again after it was interfered with by technical kind of elements more than once during this broadcast. We shall be continuing, but this is being brought to an end at 13:28 hours GMT, which will be continued later.